Have you ever experienced a moment that felt too perfectly timed to be a coincidence? Most people are so caught up in their day-to-day life and affairs. The rat race has a way of closing us off to the point where we can only really concentrate on the next payday. For some of us, it takes something big to happen for us to come back down to be able to see. Others may be more tapped in or self-aware. Either way, if you've ever experienced something like that, you'll know it's truly unforgettable. In Catholicism, many believe that these are signs from God, like an answered prayer or divine intervention. For others who are spiritualists, they may hold to the universe's all energy that aligns with their intentions. Scientists would argue that it's all probability and randomness at play. I guess until it happens to you, it's impossible to know. Recently, I found myself in a world of hurt after losing my son to a tragic accident. My life turned upside down in an instant. I pray no one ever has to feel the pain of losing someone like that. By far, the worst life has to offer. I don't want to dive into details, but it's necessary to know that to understand what's coming next. So just bear with me here. Rewind 3 years back, and I'm at a place in my life where I'm living a weekend warrior lifestyle, drinking all the time and being reckless. Life threw me a curveball and brought me back down. Instead of repeating the process, I made the choice to rise up and do better. I quit drinking, and I'd already quit smoking 3 years prior to that, so I figured, fuck it, if I can quit that, I can quit anything. Now this may seem insignificant right now, but at the time, it felt like a major achievement. It was something I talked about doing for years without ever really having any plan or know how I was gonna do it. Even after I quit, I don't really think that anybody thought I was really gonna be able to keep it up, or at least not for long. I mean, most people that quit don't last more than like a year. To be honest, I don't even know how I did it. Everybody around me stayed drinking, and I just stuck to my guns. It wasn't until I lost my son that it had became clear. The strength I needed to get through such a tragedy didn't come naturally. It was brought to me as fate would have it. There's no scenario where I would have made it out of this alive if I wasn't completely sober. It's nearly impossible to cope even still. This is something I think of often, and the more I do, it seems like there was some higher force at work here. You may think, oh, this one is just a coincidence. And yeah, it might be, but let me tell you, it gets a lot more obvious as the story goes. The day after my son passed, I was in a darker place than you could ever imagine. A place no parent should be, mourning the loss of their only son. I sat with my fiancée and her mother on the couch at my house that entire night. We couldn't sleep a wink. We just sat there weeping, crushed inside. I felt like I couldn't even breathe. Like, no matter how hard I tried, the air just wasn't getting into my lungs. I was panicking so bad. When the morning came around, I called the church closest to my house, and the receptionist picked up the phone. It was a Tuesday, and there was nothing really going on at the church. When she answered the phone, I said, my son died and I need to come pray. And to my surprise, her reply was, is this Mr. Cove? And I was shocked, but I replied, yeah. I said, can you open the church doors for me? I really need to come. She said, I was expecting your call. Yes, of course. I didn't even think to ask what she meant or how she knew who I was. I just knew I needed to get there fast. When I got there, I knocked on the door. She answered. She asked me, where do I want to pray? I didn't have a clue. She offered me to go pray in the chapel with the statue of Mary. It felt right, so I followed her up there. She took me to the Marine side altar and told me I have the church to myself. She said nobody will be here to bother me. The priest had already cleansed it with frankincense. The whole place was super smoky. I had brought with me a rosary and a picture of my son, so I kneeled at the altar and I began to pray. No words can explain the pain of something like this. So I knelt there praying, thinking about my son, asking God, how could this happen? My eyes were closed and my head was down. I'm kneeling at the altar in front of Mary, weeping over the realization that in the coming days I'm gonna have to bury my only son. Start to think about how Mary went through this too. She also lost her only son. As I continue to pray, eyes closed, kneeling down, I hear it plain as day, no more than 2 feet away from my left ear, the sound of a man. He was taking a deep breath in and letting out like a loud, soulful sigh, like one of these. It was unmistakable. This whole church was wide open. If I would have even heard a mouse walk by, I would have known. So there was no way that somebody crept in without me knowing. And it was so loud right next to my ear, like it was unmistakable. It wasn't like a breeze or none of that. The whole place was dead quiet. When I heard this sound, the hairs on my back and my arms stood on end. I knew exactly what it was. I didn't know who it was, but I knew it was the sound of a man sighing, like as if he felt like remorse for me. At first, I was too afraid to open my eyes, so I just continued to stay there with my eyes closed, praying. But a moment or two passed, and I did open my eye. And when I looked around, there was nobody there. This experience was undoubtedly the most profound encounter with the divine I have ever had, and is one that I'm so thankful for, as it helped me feel reassured that there is more to this life than we could possibly imagine. In a way, it made me feel sure that there's something that comes next when this life is over. And that really helped me get through the days that came after. I hope this video helps you find hope or a deepening sense of faith like this experience did for me when I needed it most. If you like this video, drop us a like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more as I dive into life's deepest mysteries. Until we meet again.